Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the 10th annual Seattle Asian American Film Festival and the Queer AF Shorts Program Q&A. My name is Ellison. I am one of the festival co-directors of the festival, and I am so happy to be here with some of the filmmakers from this shorts block today. So I would like everybody to introduce themselves, your name, what film you worked on, and where you are zooming in from. And I'll start with John.
Hi everyone. Good morning from the Philippines. Good morning from Manila. Good evening over there. I am John Cuison. I'm the writer and filmmaker of the short film Mutia. Thank you.
And Bruce.
Hi everyone. So I'm Bruce Cho. I'm the writer director of Imperfectly Complete, and I'm currently in Los Angeles.
Emery.
Sure. Hi everybody. My name is Emery Chow Johnson. They, them pronouns. I'm director of F1 to 100, and I'm zooming in from the land of the Tongva, or Los Angeles, California. Thank you.
Kai.
Hi everybody, I'm Kai. I use they, them pronouns. I worked on I Don't Live a Very Interesting Life, and I'm also in LA.
And Larry.
Hi, I'm Larry Tong. I'm the director of Bigger is Better. I'm zooming in from Queens, New York.
Awesome. So all around the country and the Philippines. So happy that everyone is able to join us today and share a little bit more about how you made your films and what you wanted to share with the audiences with creating these stories. I would like to start with what sparked you to make your films. And I'll start with last person who introduced themselves, Larry.
Okay, sure. I had been thinking about making a documentary about gay Asian bear culture for a while, because I think it's for a very personal reason, because for those of you who have seen the film, that you know that I put myself in the film as well, and which wasn't the original plan, but it started out with this. I've been in, so I have been to the United States for 20 years. I'm originally from Taiwan, and in the last 20 years, I visit Taiwan quite often because I teach and I have all the summer and winter's break. So, and whenever I'm in Taiwan, I usually check out the gay bars, the latest gay scene there. And I wanted to say maybe about 15 years ago, I started to see this subculture getting more popular, is the bear culture. So I'm really interested in it, and also, you know, when I'm in Taiwan, people always call me a bear. So, you know, I at first I always thought it was funny because, you know, in the United States, I would never be considered a bear. I'm just not that big. You know, there are all kinds of different definitions about what a bear should look like or act like. And 15 years ago, I didn't see myself in that category. But it was just very interesting to observe how the gay bear culture in Taiwan has developed in the last 15 years or so. So probably about 5 years ago, I started to work on the film little by little, because, you know, I live in New York, so I don't really spend that much time in Asia. So whenever I travel to Asia, I try to do a little bit of work. That's sort of how I started out. And honestly, I feel like there's a lot more work to be done about this subject. But, you know, when COVID hit, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to work with whatever footage I have and just finish it, because, you know, for documentaries, it'll never end. You know, there's always new development in the culture, and I was worried that some of the materials that I got are becoming outdated. So I wanted to at least put sort of have closure in a way. So that's sort of how I started.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to if you make any, follow-up docs for us to see that in the future. What about you, Kai? What made you want to document your own life in the style that you did?
I wanted to say really quickly that I'm pretty delighted to be on this panel because I watched all the films and I think it's like a really kind of like diverse group of filmmaking techniques and like subjects. Also about queerness is, I really enjoyed everybody's film and I hope that I could connect with you guys as well. But sorry, just to answer the question, I started this film because I was asking a lot of questions when I was making it about the camera as what's possible with the camera and the camera kind of being used as pointing outwards. And maybe I was interested in pointing the camera towards myself and trying to document an interior world in a lot of ways. And a lot of the film came out of a desire to see myself or someone who looked like me on screen, but not in a way that was pandering, but in a way that was real and honest and an invitation to a deeper conversation that might be uncomfortable. So in ways it's about reflection and honesty. And also I think it came to also be in the process of making it and watching afterwards, kind of about mental illness or personal struggle of trying to be my own friend during periods of time that are really difficult and talking to oneself. So that's kind of what inspired me to make the film.
Thank you. Yeah, the way that you made it, I saw a lot of myself in that. And I really appreciate the vulnerability that you put into and shared that. And very glad that we get to share that with everybody else. Emery, how did you come about making this really beautiful documentary with animation about this subject that was an F100?
Yeah, sure. I had met the subject of F1 to 100 on a previous collaboration, and I was really kind of surprised and really astounded by the animation work they shared with me. So we kind of really looked at this film as an opportunity to showcase their artistry, along with kind of being able to emotionally channel this type of precarity they're experiencing under a F1 student visa. It opens up a lot of opportunities to experience like very big joys of living in a place where they can be more authentically themselves, but at the same time, it also has an undercurrent of unknowns after graduation with the F1 student visa. So that's kind of what we wanted to take an opportunity to share their work with a wider audience, and also kind of trying to shift perspectives about international students and kind of what obstacles and challenges they're negotiating in their everyday life.
How long did it take for all of that animation to be completed?
Sure. So there's like a featured animation, which is the kind of abstract figure who kind of carries a through line throughout the film, and then the additional animations, the ones with the time period markers, I think that was all made within like during like a one summer. We were just trying to get all the animation done, and the artist themselves made all of that animation. So I hope they can also look back at this film as kind of a portfolio of kind of what they were exploring at that time. Yeah.
Terrific. Bruce, how did you come about to make your film? And
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
so the second year I came to LA, I met this wonderful transgender woman friend Chrissy, and I know that she's a wonderful actress, so I've always wanted to work with her. And so while I was in the school, I got this opportunity to make this film. So I'm thinking like, okay, I want to explore a theme that I've I've been wanting to explore, which is do we deserve the love no matter who we are? And I actually made another film with a similar theme, and this time I want to explore this film with Chrissy. So that's why I wrote the script about we are different than others, but we still deserve love, and we we need to kind of conquer that fear in our mind, because people there, they love you, and you need to let them know. Yeah, so that's why I made this film.
Thank you. And I really love that we are able to play your film with John's in the same block, both starring trans women and their navigations through romance and relationships. John, can you tell us about how you came about to making your film?
Sure. I guess I would respond to what Bruce mentioned, the fear or the transphobia that exists. So I made the film. I thought about writing the film in support or in in trying to, in solidarity with our trans brothers and sisters, because in 2014 there was a very highly publicized unfortunate murder of a trans woman. And in 2020, the US Marine who was seen as the culprit was pardoned. So it was very controversial here. And overall, I guess I'm interested in trying to use the film, or maybe create an avenue for representation. But more than that, I guess I'm really interested in how labor, movement, identity intersect. So in the film, I was very conscious. I knew I wanted the lead character to be a trans woman who is, I guess, who represents strength, self-sacrifice, and but also able to show love. I guess it all was a combination of all these ideas in my mind because of what's happening here. So overall, that was compounded by the lockdown, because if you look at the film, it talks a lot about how we navigate and negotiate long distance relationships, right? As far as an overseas Filipino seafarer negotiating the relationship that we all have, that most migrants have had to deal with, but never really shown on screen. Well, I'm sure that it has been shown, but maybe compounded by the lockdown. Was that a clear answer? That was a very complicated answer, but I think that was all these ideas putting together and trying to create a short experimental visual experience. That's how it came about.
Yeah, I love that answer. Does anybody else have like how the pandemic has impacted the way that you were working on your projects at all? Whether it was like during production or post-production. Emery, what was it like to work I want to assume a lot of it was probably long distance with the subject of your film.
Yeah, a significant amount it was, well, at some point we weren't sure if we'd be able to finish the film because I think we were unsure kind of the state of H's residence. But we just kind of stayed in constant communication and just checking in with each other along the way. So a lot of it was thankfully for like instant messenger and these types of different technologies, and also with Zoom, I guess we were able to continue through post-production. And I think it was mostly communication was helpful, and I was really lucky to work with a sound designer and a musician, both remotely, because they were both very communicative and really nice to work with. It was definitely a very, I guess, it was a unique experience doing everything for the first time remotely. But I think we all kind of shared the same vision for the project. So I was just grateful that we were healthy, physically healthy, and able to kind of collaborate in this way.
Thank you. What about you, Bruce? Did you film before or during the pandemic?
Yeah, so we filmed Imperfectly Complete, I think it's around November 2020. So it's pretty much like a very high peak of pandemic. So we have to keep in a very small crew. Overall, we have only, including cast and crew, we'll have only like 10 people for this film. You know, everyone needs to be more than one position. Like I'm the director, also I'm the AD, and also the producer, also the production designer. And we, for the entire camera team, we only have 2 people. Yeah, so we keep it very like minimal, but at the same time, we can, you know, kind of maybe move a little bit faster because we just, you know, we don't have a lot of people to move around. Yeah, so we try to make everything like small, and of course, like everyone will put on the mask and do the COVID test. Try our best to protect each other. And for the post, of course, everything is virtual. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Kai, when you were working on your film, was it just like a personal project that you worked on your own, or did you, while you were conceptualizing or working or doing post on it, were you like getting feedback from friends? And tell us a little about your how that went about.
So for the film, it was very much a spontaneous decision to start filming. I find that I kind of follow some type of bodily gesture usually when I start filming. I like to turn on the camera and see what happens. So that's basically what I did. I shot the film over one day and I edited it over like 1 or 2 days afterwards. And it was very much it felt like composing a song or a poem in a way, where I was like, I just have to keep my hand on the pulse and see where the rhythm takes me. So it was a very delightful kind of editing and shooting exercise, and very easy because it was just me. And I kind of enjoy working with restrictions. So it was interesting to kind of figure out where the pieces went, knowing that I had like very little time, and it wasn't a project that involved like anybody else really. There's like one film or one piece of it that's like from my archive, but that's the only scene with somebody else involved. And I was thinking actually that I'm sure plenty of people have very similar pandemic films of themselves at home. I mean, people's Instagram stories are kind of equivalent to my film in a lot of ways. People are like, I'm eating breakfast, I'm walking my dog, you know, stuff like that. So
Yeah, that sounds like a really nice like contemplative challenge to have like given yourself. And yeah, I love the comparison to like our Instagram stories or Snapchats. It's definitely very similar. Larry, you talked a little bit about how, you know, COVID happening gave you more incentive to just finish this documentary. What was there anything that came up during the pandemic that you're like, oh, I kind of wish I was there to, you know, film something to add on to it, anything like that?
Actually, was it last year? 2020. Actually, 2020, I was in Taiwan in the summer. And so I actually did a very short film about a special Pride Parade in Taiwan. Because usually the Pride Parade in Taiwan is at the end of October. But that year, because worldwide, most of the Pride Parades were canceled because of COVID, and Taiwan was sort of ahead of the game in the early stage of COVID. So some organizers wanted to sort of do it for the world. So they call it Taiwan Pride for the World. So a friend and I did a short piece about that. So that was actually an opportunity for me to do a piece, and I just happened to be there. And it was shown in quite a few festivals around the world. So we were kind of surprised at the response. But in terms of bigger and better, all the footage were gathered before COVID happened. But I was able to use the time to I got a fellowship. I got a writing fellowship for this project at CUNY where I work, and so I workshopped the piece with 4 other faculty members, but from different disciplines, most of them from English or gender studies. So and these are mostly traditional academics. So they were able to give me a lot of really valuable feedback, including asking me to put myself in it, which I was really reluctant to do when I started the project.
Thank you. What was that? Would you say that was the most challenging part for you, putting yourself in it?
Yes, it was. Yeah. But at the end, I think it all made sense, and it actually made editing a lot easier because, you know, for those of you who have seen the film, it's my style is very journalistic, and it's a big topic that covers a lot of ground. So by having my own voice, I was able to sort of piece it together. So in that sense, it makes it easier. Yeah, because I was sitting on it for a while, and I really always get sidetracked by other projects I was working on. So during the pandemic, it was difficult to work on new project. So I decided, you know what, I have to finish it. Whatever shape or form it's gonna become, this is it. So I'm glad I finished it.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll go around with the same question. What was the most challenging part of making your films? And we'll start with John.
Okay. I guess I could relate to what everybody said in terms of the pandemic and then the challenges, but I identified with what Kai said about music, how it relates to the pulse. So, oh, just a quick background. I had shot, the intention, it was supposed to be a feature film. I wrote Muti as a feature film. I shot the garden scenes 2019, pre-pandemic. And then 2020, I did nothing. And then the controversy came out. And then 2021, I have to do at least a short film just so that it's out. So one of the kind of like jazz flow that I had to work with was that, okay, this is what I had, kind of like a collage, was okay, these are the materials that I have. Okay, how can I make sense out of this given the restrictions, given the challenges? And so one of the challenges definitely was that we weren't able to shoot, right? So how do I fix that and solve that when you're all stuck at home trying to come up with a project so that you could feel like you've accomplished something at least? But for me, the challenge was to get the right overseas Filipino worker with the right YouTube account, with the camera and the shots, because those were not, I didn't shoot that. We had to find a collaborator who was an actual, so in a way it's a partial documentary because those are actually his shots of him working on a ship. He's not an actor, and he agreed to use the footage. Of course, it's in big color with lots of music and annotation, but I had to use it into my own style so that I could combine them together and form the film. But yeah, so in a way, it was difficult. Plus, of course, the voiceover, collaborating online, recording using their phones, and then sending it to someone to clean up the sound. But I guess like the pulse that Kai was saying, it's part of the restriction that makes it even more fun or more rewarding when it does work. Of course, there were moments when it didn't work, but it's gratifying when you're watching it, editing it online with my editor. We're zooming all the time, trying to fix the material, and yeah. So in a way, the restriction, the limitation, became the best tool because you had to figure out a way to creatively navigate or work around it. So in the end, that's the material that I had. But there.
Yeah, very cool to learn all of the different elements that came together in your film. What about you, Bruce? What was the biggest challenge of making your film?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is to find Justin Z, who is our composer of the film, because we have like two songs, like actual songs with the lyrics. So I was like, oh, this is like not like a regular composer can do, right? So I asked around like my friend, and luckily like Justin Z is a student of one of my friend. My friend is the acting coach, and they have a very close relationship. So my friend referred Justin to me and saying like, oh, my student Justin already wrote a bunch of songs, and maybe you can just pick some songs out of his database. And when I check on his YouTube, I was stunning because the song was so good, and he is just a senior high school student. Yeah. So so eventually we Justin also like to work with us, so we pick 3 of his songs, and then and also we get the original music notes draft, and so our actor Zhao can practice the guitar and practice how to sing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, music can oftentimes be the hardest part of bringing everything together. Emery, you shared, the challenges of working long distance. Would you say that was the biggest challenge for you, or?
Personally, I think another one of the biggest challenges for me was the editing process. There's a lot of different types of material in the film, like art, animation, illustration, archival, and then also like video footage. So it was a bit difficult to try to see how to piece everything together in a way that kind of creates a cohesive language for the film in its whole. But I think what was also most rewarding about the challenge of editing this was was opening myself up to experimenting with the edit and trying just different things and seeing how it worked and how it felt. So I think it was really cool to kind of try a different approach to editing and see how in documentary we kind of create the story also in post-production.
Yeah, and it all came together really beautifully. Kai, while you were working on this by yourself over that like three period day, what was the hardest thing for you?
I think the hardest thing was trying to figure out how it all came together and how to speak without speaking. I feel like I struggle with using music in my films. I have not yet used music just because I think I'm really interested in natural sounds and silence. But I had made a cut of the film where there were no words. And then I was like, I feel like I'm trying to speak, but there's no speaking. So then I ended up thinking about subtitles. I put the subtitles at the bottom. It looked too much like a Tumblr screen cap, which was fine, but I kind of felt like I wanted it to be more than that. So then I moved the graphic text to the center of the screen. And for a while I was like, I don't know if this is right. And then I sat with it and was like, okay, let's try something different. Let's put words in the middle of the screen and see if they don't take away from the images. And they became part of the images, which I enjoyed. And then a hard part, which was when I started showing the film to people, I found it difficult to walk the line between lying about what was real and what wasn't real. I'd say that most of it's real, but somewhat fictionalized, but the feelings are real. I had a really interesting experience where I showed it to someone I didn't know very well. And he wanted to ask about the part where I'm crying on screen. And he was like, he just wanted to know, were those real tears? And I'm like, why is that interesting to you? Like, they're not, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. And then he's like, well, you know, I think you were really crying. And I don't know why it kind of like stuck with me that he insisted that he felt like it was real. So that's been an interesting part of the process of the film, kind of making it. And then I didn't realize that showing it also was still a continuation of making it.
Absolutely. Yeah, once you put a body of your work out into the world, the responses that you'll get, and it'll be different every time. As we wrap up this Q&A, I wanted to see if any of you are working on anything or have anything coming up. If you could share that with us and how we can find you on social media if you are on social media. Let's start with Larry.
Sure. Yeah, I have been working on a piece about Asian Americans in New York City politics. So I'm focusing on elected officials. Currently, there are 6 elected officials, including a congresswoman, a few city council members, and state assembly members. So I'm following primarily one of them. Her name is Yuling Niu, and she actually she grew up in Washington State, actually. Yeah. So so because of COVID, it's been very difficult to gather new footage because there's a lot of restrictions, and so I kind of put that piece on hold right now, and hoping to restart at some point. Yeah, and I have another piece that I'm developing about a Chinese Indian woman from Jamaica who is the queen of reggae music, and she's based now based in Jamaica, Queens. And you can find me easily on social media. My Facebook is just Larry Tong, and I have a website, larrytong.com.
Terrific. Very excited to see those projects. Thank you, Larry. What about you, Bruce?
Yeah, so I actually made another film with Chrissy last year. So we are still like wrapping it up for the post. Also, I'm also developing another LGBT story, like feature film story with my another friend, another writer friend here. Hopefully we can submit to a couple of script labs this year. Yeah. And if you want to check on my social media, you can find Bruce Cho 0626 in at Instagram. Yeah.
Very exciting. Thank you, Bruce. What about you, Emery?
Currently, I'm working on a experimental film that kind of plays with this idea of transparency in documentary filmmaking. And it's kind of about archives, memory, and family. And it's called Mo, or To Write from Memory. I'm not the most active on social media. I just had to look up my my handle, but I'm on Instagram at Emery Chow Johnson. I also have a website at it's chowjohnson.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely looking forward to that documentary. Kai, are you working on anything? And do you have socials for us to follow?
I'm also kind of working on an archival piece that I've been working on for a couple years, about kind of like my grandfather's passing, and then also like my family dog's death, and it's kind of experimental in that I'm still trying to figure out how to write with images. I'm a poet at heart, so always constantly working on some form of a poem. So there's a video piece that hopefully will take form soon. You can find me at, I'm having some domain issues, but in 1 or 2 days, you can find me at skylen.com.
Terrific, thank you. And John?
Yeah, Mutya actually started, like I said, as a feature film, but then it became a short film. But then I had a lot of other footage. So it became a trilogy. So I actually have 3 films that are connected to their story. So from the point of view of the seafarer boyfriend, and then the blind mother. So they are actually existing short films now, and they're also part of other festivals. They've been screened in other festivals, but Mutia was the first one. But recently, it's funny that Emery and Kai mentioned archive, because I've also been working or activating, exploring archival materials, but not personal, pre-existing archival materials, and exploring how we could create fictionalized narrative out of existing footage, given the situation. So I've been working, trying to make a film without making a film. So that's what I've been trying to do. So I could just type it here so that it's clear to everyone. But my IG account is John_Cuison, and I have johncuison.com for my website. That's it.
Awesome, thank
Thanks.
you. I'm glad all of you were able to join us today for this Q&A, and thank you so much to everybody at home who has tuned into this program and this back talk with the filmmakers. The Seattle Asian American Film Festival is going from March 3rd to 13th, so get your tickets, watch more content, and you can visit bit.ly/SAAFF 2022 to check out a full lineup. Thank you and stay safe.